Extreme heat is on the way. From flex alerts to high surf, San Diego is facing potential record-breaking conditions over the next 48 hours. A call to end ticketing. San Diegans who live in RVs say the city is violating the rights of people with disabilities.
I don't do this job for money. If I did, I would have left a long time ago.
For the Marine Corps, the money might be the solution. How the military is offering big bonuses to keep its pilots.
You're locked in, and it's very immersive. Like, it's instantaneously immersive.
And whether it's virtual, mixed, or augmented reality, it's becoming a more common tool for learning. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Ebony Monet. It was hot today and it will be even hotter tomorrow. That's why state regulators are issuing a flex alert. People will be asked to conserve electricity during times of peak demand. That's expected to be tomorrow and Wednesday nights from 5 to 9. State regulators say following the flex alert can help prevent power outages due to a strain on the system. Lifeguards are ready for more people at local beaches. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman says there's another hazard waiting for those people who go into the water.
Attention on the beach in the water.
One of the only areas not under excessive heat warning is the coast.
Late in June, the numbers really started peaking, and we haven't seen it let off really since 4th of July.
Aside from dehydration, lifeguards say one of the biggest hazards for swimmers are rip currents, which can be hard to spot.
It's the longshore currents that pull the water along the parallel to the shore, that pull them into the neck of the rip current and push that water out. If you feel yourself, as soon as you enter the water, getting pulled toward a deeper trough, that's a sign that you're entering a rip current. Just walk yourself back out and away from that location.
Lifeguards say even experienced swimmers might find themselves having to fight their way back to shore. During the heat wave, people are not the only ones heading to the beach.
We're just spending the day kind of cooling off, both them and the horses, and just having fun.
Margit Dearman says taking her horses swimming is good training and a good way to get out of the heat.
Lots of people come by and they're so excited to see horses, especially the tourists in San Diego, you know, that don't expect to see a horse at the beach, right? And then they come and they pull in and get their camera. Can we take a picture with your horse? And yeah, so it's a lot of fun.
If you're heading to the beach, lifeguards recommend bringing an umbrella or tent to avoid constant sun. They're also encouraging people to ask them where safe places to swim are. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
Well, I hope everyone is staying hydrated out here because we are seeing some extremely hot conditions. We have heat alerts in place mostly for the interior areas, but it is above average. In fact, record challenging and breaking temperatures along the coast this week as well. But if you are in this red, you need to make sure you're able to stay cool. There are cooling centers located across the city. So if you need to find one, you should do that. Make sure you're keeping a watchful eye on the kids, the pets, and also the elderly. Make sure that they are doing okay in this heat. Tonight is going to be pretty warm, above average temperatures. The coolest that we'll reach in Borrego Springs will be 88 degrees, and even here in San Diego at 72. So a warm night, and that means tomorrow is going to be a hot day. Records will be challenged. San Diego, we are going to tie the record from 2006. Chula Vista, we're going to break it. 81 degrees, that's what's on record. We are expecting 84, and the list goes on. Stay tuned, and I'll have more details. For KPBS News, I'm Erin Calandra.
The heat will also be a problem up north, where a large wildfire continues to burn near Yosemite. Fire crews from the Sierra National Forest shared these pictures over the weekend. They're fighting the Ferguson Fire. More than 50 square miles burned on the western edge of the park. Extreme heat is forecast in the area, with temperatures reaching into the triple digits. This is a big week for the court-ordered reunification of families separated at the border. A federal judge in San Diego has given a deadline of Thursday to complete the process for children's ages 5 to 17. There are more than 2,500 such cases. As of last Friday, the Trump administration said it had reunited 450 of those children with family members. The ACLU sued the Trump administration to end the family separation policy. President Trump's immigration enforcement doesn't just impact people who are arriving at the border. AP reporter Alan Breed takes a look at families with mixed status and a mother who found herself deported.
Hola, Jennifer.
Hi, Mama. Did you miss me? Did you love me?
Raising a teenager is never easy.
Aquí está super hot.
Letty Stiegel is trying to do it from 1,600 miles away.
They just bury me alive because I got everything there, and I'm here. I just feel bad for my daughter. My husband.
Deportations are splitting apart so-called mixed-status families. More than 8 million Americans live with at least one relative who is in the country illegally. Stiegel was deported to Mexico in March after living in the U.S. almost 20 years. It caught everyone, including her second husband, Steve, and her 17-year-old daughter, Jennifer Tadeo Uscanga, by surprise.
She came and cried on my shoulder and was just, saying, I didn't get to say goodbye to her. It's not fair.
What do you do when the person who raised you is gone?
This is the paper that I got for ICE.
A misdemeanor DUI charge in 2012 put Stiegel on the immigration authorities' radar.
I just got one mistake and it happens to me, it kills me because now that this is the consequence.
In the later years of the Obama administration, cases like hers weren't considered a priority. Her husband and child were both U.S. citizens. She paid taxes and had a Social Security card. But under the Trump administration,
it's much more black and white now. If someone is in the country illegally, they're considered to be a priority for enforcement almost no matter what.
I thought I was safe, but I'm not safe at all. I'm here.
Now, mother and daughter say goodnight prayers via FaceTime. Stiegel continues to run the family's bar, monitoring the 16 security cameras on her laptop.
Have you been helped? I'll be right back. She lets us know when, customers need to be waited on.
So you got...
Stiegel's in-laws have delayed their retirement to help run the business. They now regret voting for Trump.
I feel like I really betrayed her. I've always been proud to be an American, but now I'm ashamed.
The separation has been hardest on Jennifer, who celebrated a birthday and her first prom without her mother.
You get the motherly love from a call, but not the hug, not the touch.
In May, the teen wrote a letter to the court.
She is more than just some immigrant that was deported. She's my mom, and I love her, and I just want her back.
What you got there?
The family's lawyer says it could take 2 years to validate Stiegel's return through her marriage. Otherwise, she might have to wait 10 years before she's eligible to return. Her husband and daughter can visit. Until then, she watches her former life on little screens. Alan Breed, Associated Press, Kansas City, Missouri.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, an all-caps message to Iran. President Trump exchanges threats of war. Coming up at 7, right after Evening Edition on KPBS.
Advocates for people experiencing homelessness want the city of San Diego to stop ticketing RVs. They made their case today at Mission Bay. Disability Rights California is suing the city over its rules against overnight parking and vehicle habitation. Later this week, a judge will decide whether to halt the ticketing and impounding of RVs as the case moves forward.
We want this travesty to stop. We don't want to put people in vulnerable positions where they have an RV and then they're put out onto the cold cement and are unsheltered. So we think there's a lot of solutions here. There's empty parking lots. There's lots of places you could park without bothering anybody. And these people have a right to live.
Those who brought the lawsuit say the city's rules violate the Americans with Disabilities Act because many people who are living in RVs are disabled. Nearly 1 in 2 students in the Cal State University system had trouble paying for food at some point in the past year. A new report by the State Assembly puts the number at 42%. The issue of food insecurity is defined as not having enough money to eat consistently. The report suggests more services to help college students. Rady Children's Hospital is placing doctors in low-income communities to provide families with health education. But in some cases, language is a barrier. KPBS reporter Taryn Minto says organizers are seeking volunteers who can help.
When we do the teeth brushing, so we have them write the letters on here, and then they get to brush them off and practice that.
That's Jamie Cassett-Sanchez. She's showing off the learning materials for Health Stars. The program brings doctors directly to homeless shelters, affordable housing units, and other locations to provide hands-on learning for parents and young kids. Cassett-Sanchez says she's seeking volunteer interpreters to provide that training in the native languages of San Diego's diverse communities.
So we want to make sure that these families that we're reaching can really have access to the information that we're providing and really have that opportunity to dialogue with the clinicians that are coming out to them.
Arabic, Farsi, and Somali interpreters are needed the most. The program has already provided some sessions in Spanish. Taryn Minto, KPBS News.
The Marines are facing a pilot shortage. As KPBS military reporter Steve Walsh explains, the military is offering record-high bonuses to keep its current pilots from leaving.
Major Daniel Meckley has been a Marine helicopter pilot since 2005. Now he's at a decision point in his career.
Actually, I am through with my service contract right now. The rest is really up to the Marine Corps and how long they'll have me or how long I decide to stay in.
The Marines are trying to figure out how to hang on to experienced pilots like Meckley.
Expeditionary sea-based operations.
The Corps recently announced a record-high bonus of up to $200,000 for mid-career pilots who are being lured away to the private sector. Meckley isn't the only pilot at Miramar weighing his options.
My peers, yes, I would say we are all at that point in our careers where we do talk about it. You know, you weigh the positives, the negatives. Each person has their own individual choices.
The Air Force, Navy, and Marine Corps report pilot shortages. The General Accounting Office found some pilots leave because they don't have enough time in the cockpit.
So here we can take fuel out of any tank that we want.
And unlike other services, the Marines require pilots to spend years away from flying.
Once you have your skills, the Marine Corps wants to put your skills and your leadership to the test, and they send you to other places.
Pilots could be teaching or recruiting. According to the Marines, that's when they're most at risk of leaving for the private sector, where their skills are in high demand. Last year, the bonuses targeted mainly fighter pilots. This year, they include CH-53 helicopter pilots like Major Meckley. He says money isn't the deciding factor.
I don't do this job for money. If I did, I would have left a long time ago.
At the moment, he plans to stay, and that's helpful for a service that expects to add new aircraft in the next year. Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
Virtual reality is not just for video games. More and more universities and colleges use the technology in courses, including San Diego State University. SDSU was recently recognized by the CSU system for its advancements in virtual learning.
Why does the moon seem to change shape almost every night? Astronomy students study images and models for understanding. Now they can travel to space.
Being on the moon looking at the Earth, which is kind of difficult to do in reality, but in virtual reality, that's easy to do.
Dr. James Frazee is the Director of Instructional Technology Services at San Diego State University. ITS is leading the university's exploration of virtual learning.
In many disciplines, things are really dangerous or expensive or kind of high risk, low frequency. In those types of situations, some of these technologies can enable students to experience simulations and experiences that would never be possible in a conventional classroom.
Thanks in part to big-budget movies such as The Matrix and Tron, many of us are familiar with the concept of virtual reality. Frazee and his team are researching the impact of what they've named virtual immersive teaching and learning, or VITAL.
Thanks to the entertainment and gaming industry, the technology is becoming within reach for institutions of higher education and K-12 institutions as well.
26 SDSU courses use virtual, augmented, or mixed reality.
Students can physically test the theory that we're reading about.
In this explainer video, a humanities lecturer describes how her students use VR to physically test theories.
You're locked in, and it's very immersive. Like, it's instantaneously immersive. That's really incredible.
Yeah, I'll get it on. I'll just need to reset it up.
This immersive experience is guided by ITS technology consultants like recent SDSU graduate Antonio Danino.
It tries to get viewers to kind of be immersed in the concept of global warming and climate change.
Danino is part of the team that helps faculty and students use the VR technology and experiences, like a wildfire battle.
It puts you literally in the shoes of the hotshots. You get to view what it's like from the plane, from right in front of a fire. It's just the most incredible thing.
Frazee says each iteration of VR becomes more affordable, more reliable, and more applicable to learning.
We're seeing a growing amount of content. We would like you to experience some of that here momentarily.
Accepting the invitation, I slipped on a headset. Blindfolded from reality, I was suddenly looking down on Earth from outer space.
This is cool.
Then I virtually boarded a CAL FIRE chopper to join an effort to snuff out a massive wildfire. Frazee's team is measuring the effects of this more interactive learning experience.
Are there any hurdles?
I think part of the hurdle is just culture and faculty wanting to teach the way they were taught.
This new teaching tool lets SDSU nursing students use augmented mixed reality to test diagnostic skills on holograms.
So they're not only are they able to walk around the patient and examine them, they're also getting prompts and information overlaid onto that experience.
Frazee says this experience is more consistent than hiring virtual patients or actors, and less expensive than human patient simulators that cost as much as $100,000, plus annual maintenance fees. This compared to $3,000 to $5,000 for the Microsoft HoloLens. SDSU has partnered with Microsoft and educational publisher Pearson to create holographic content.
So the spirit behind our work with the Virtual Immersive Teaching and Learning Initiative is to improve student success by making the learning experience much more interactive and much more real.
The working theory is more realistic experiences will enhance understanding and student motivation, therefore improving academic success.
In 10 or 15 years, we're going to wonder how we ever taught without it.
Participating faculty and students complete surveys to help track the impact of immersive learning. The results will help SDSU officials decide how much more to invest in the technology. Churches serve as gathering places for communities around the world. Now people are also worshiping in a digital space. PBS Austin has the link between spirituality and tech.
Christ himself went into the community. Christ had asked us to go into the community. The people are on their mobile phones, they're on their tablets, they're online. That is really where we need to go. It's an on-demand society now. We want to worship when we want to worship. But that's an overall culture thing. Netflix, Hulu, video on demand. We expect to have a God on demand.
There's constantly been technological updates in which churches get new stuff. I mean, Billy Graham pioneered the use of film and as a medium.
His message is simple, a fervent call to Christianity as the remedy for modern evil.
Technology is basically a form of religious competition. If you've got one church that doesn't have any new technology and its members are aging and it seems to not be growing, and they see the church down the street growing rapidly and getting younger members because it's using apps or putting itself on social media, then more than likely the church that's aging will pick that up as a way to compete with them. But you cannot have religion without moral community, so an app will be used as an extension of some form of moral community.
Our wonderful online congregation is watching today. Thank you so much. If you would, take your phones and open the Life Austin app or your iPad or your message notes
We use technology to help bring the community together. We tested out online streaming onto Facebook, and unfortunately became a great success, and our members wanted that every week after that. We try and direct as many members as we can to follow through our mobile app. We extend our services through our mobile app. We have prayer requests. It's designed in such a fashion to encourage members to group. It really is an extension of what Life Boston, it really is.
The technology changes how humans interact, but they will always interact to have community. So it just reshapes the ways in which religious messages are distributed. So it's just another way of supplementing what already happens. Technology will change the way individuals interact with each other. We see it all the time through social media.
I do see communities forming online.
And welcome to Yoga with Adrienne. I'm Adrienne, and today we have an awesome Heart Chakra for Beginners practice. This is an amazing little ditty for anyone who's wanting to open up, not so much here or here, but right. I really do consider the practice online a spiritual practice. So we may not be there in person all the time, but through this online community, we absolutely are feeding off each other's energy, and we're absolutely learning from each other. At the root of it, this is time for you to connect to yourself. And if we're going to be living in a digital age where we cannot escape, then how can we figure out ways to be wise and invest our time and energy in things that serve us? So how can we master the art of essentially plugging in to unplug?
How can a Facebook-like comment and that comment going back and forth, how can that translate to an actual relationship online? I don't believe my generation, Generation X, can get into that. Millennials and the generation following, I do believe that that's where we're going to, making these connections online.
It seems a little bit backwards to log on to YouTube, of all places, to get your Zen on or to have your centering moment of the day. But there's something for someone to get out of it, even if we're not identifying it. They feel a connection.
I think what will happen in the future is the same that's already happened already, which is that these new technologies will allow for existing congregations to reach out and try to bring people back in.
Long lines at the DMV have the attention of state lawmakers. Some are calling for a hearing next month. Part of the issue is the rollout of Real ID. The new identification cards will be required to fly in the U.S. after 2020. Many people are choosing to get a Real ID to replace a standard driver's license, but the process takes twice as long. As we mentioned earlier in the newscast, extreme heat is expected over the next couple of days. This is what it looked like earlier today in La Jolla. In addition to the heat, the National Weather Service has issued a high surf advisory. Aaron Calandra has details in tonight's forecast.
It is important to stay hydrated and cool under these types of conditions. We are seeing extremely warm temperatures. We have heat alerts out there, excessive heat warnings in the red, and we're going to see widespread records broken and challenged tomorrow. San Diego, the record is going to be tied tomorrow, 85 degrees. Chula Vista, we're going to break it. Forecast is 84. The record is 81 degrees, and the list goes on and on. So it's going to be a very hot day, and not just here, but across the Southwest. Phoenix, 116. That is going to be a tied record, and Los Angeles getting close. The record's 103. They'll be in the mid-90s. Now, as far as precipitation, there really isn't much. We're seeing just a little bit of moisture, monsoon moisture, creeping into the southern regions. But really, everyone is staying pretty dry around here. Tonight, the lows are going to be above average. The coolest that we'll get in Borrego Springs will be 88 degrees. Ramona at 66 in San Diego, right around 72 degrees. We'll see some patchy low clouds across the coast. And then tomorrow, it's going to be another scorcher. Very hot conditions. Now, along the coast, a bit cooler because of the Pacific breeze, but still above average. In fact, as I said, San Diego will be challenging the record at 85 degrees. Ramona at 104. And in Mount Laguna, 89 degrees. degrees. So everyone needs to drink plenty of water, pack a water bottle with you, and just take it with you everywhere you go tomorrow. Tuesday, so it's going to be a warm day. Wednesday, even warmer, up to 87 degrees along the coast, and then we'll stay in those 80s for the rest of the week. Wednesday will be a record-breaking day in the interior areas, up to 105 degrees, dangerously hot. And then the rest of the week, we will be mainly in the 90s. In the mountains, we'll be in the upper 80s much of the week, cooling down by the weekend to 82 degrees, and across the deserts, look at those temperatures. Tuesday and Wednesday, 116 degrees. The coolest it will get will be in the upper 80s, so dangerously warm conditions. And again, make sure you're checking on the elderly, the pets, and the kiddos. Make sure everyone is staying safe. For KPBS News, I'm Erin Calandra.
Now here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. During the last heat wave, a fire in Alpine destroyed several homes. Local firefighters tell us what they learned from battling the West Fire. And on Midday Edition, how San Diego police officers are among the first in the state to receive new training in domestic violence cases. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.